intellectual but classical, practical and factual, harmonic.
Now, unless you've been down a hole for the last month or two, you all know there's an election coming in the UK. So I'm going to go through some of the major promises made by the major parties, and I'm going to give you my sixpenny worth. Then we have Mr Clegg from the Liberals, who seems to be putting his finger up at all of us. Sorry, did I say Liberals? I mean Liberal Democrats. And basically this gentleman here has promised lots of things which will get nearly everyone's back up. First thing is that the income tax personal allowance will be raised to $12,500, which means that low paid people won't be paying any income tax. Well, people that have paid less than $12,500 anyway, which is a bit of an odd number. And the party want to introduce a high value property levy, a so-called mansion tax, which they reckon will make $1 billion a year for the government and will raise $7 billion a year by cracking down on tax avoidance as well. So this is a party who's going to totally alienate those with any money, those with any property, and those who run businesses. So just how many votes are they going to get? Now they've pledged more for the education budget, and again they're doing the same with free childcare as the Conservatives and Labour are. They've all seemed to decided that free childcare is a really big issue. Now the Liberal Democrats have also said they're going to increase NHS spending by $8 billion a year, which is the same as the Conservatives and the Labour have promised, and yeah, and this is a typical Liberal thing. They're going to create specialist drug courts to provide bespoke help for addicts and people with mental health problems. So, now the Liberals have traditionally been big on green things, so they're going to put in legal targets for biodiversity, clean air, clean water. So does this mean that councils will be forced to import plants and animals that don't actually currently live in their areas? I'd like to see anyone in London try to import more foxes than we already have. Access to green space. He's going to extend the right to roam, which is basically means that you can trample all over anyone else's land, which will be really popular with all the farmers. Yeah, a zero waste Britain bill, establishing a report on resource use with binding targets, and reducing biodegradable landfill. Britain's already a nightmare with regards to waste because there's so many rules imposed by different councils about recycling and so on that, yeah, it's really absolutely mad. And there's going to be a green transport bill, a full network of charging points for electric cars, thinking that they're green. They're not. Only allowing low emission vehicles on the road from 2040. Well, instantly you've alienated everyone that likes old cars, old motorcycles and the like, and anyone that runs large heavy vehicles. I mean, some cranes cost several £1 million, and you're not going to ditch it, I don't think. It's absolutely mad, as usual, and this is quite traditional for Liberals, Liberal Democrats. Their policies make absolutely no bloody sense whatsoever. Now, in contrast to Mr Clegg of the Liberal Democrats, Nigel Farage of UKIP party seems to have found what he's grasping for, and their policies actually do make some sense, and this rather surprised me, but Yes, they do. And what's more, they've been fully costed. And so they know that they can actually do them. And this is quite a change, because the rest of the parties, they just say things, they don't justify them. But UKIP has a whole whacking great big policy document online now. There's a PDF file. Go and get it. It makes some good reading. Now, apart from leaving the European Union, which is obvious, this is what UKIP have always wanted, they're no longer a single issue party. Now, one of the big things that they're for is banning foreign criminals entering or remaining in Britain. Now, those of you that live in the States might think, well, surely you do, don't you? And the answer is no, we don't, because we can't. The European Union won't actually let us. We have to give them free access to our country. No tax on the minimum wage up to 13,000. That's kind of similar to some of the others. Raising the threshold for paying 40% tax to £55,000, and introducing a new 30% on intermediate rate between earnings between 45,300 and 55,000. And this actually makes some sense. It's basically taxing the rich a little bit more and taxing those in middle incomes a little bit less, and taxing those on low incomes a lot less. Scrapping the HS2 rail scheme. Now, this is a big bone of contention, because really HS2, yeah, high-speed rail network, most of Europe has got it, but nobody in Britain really uses the trains, as I've already said, because they're too damned expensive, and spending quite a few £billions on this high-speed rail scheme is certainly not going to make them any cheaper, so I'd welcome him scrapping that. Scrapping inheritance tax, and this is a bit of tax aid really for the rich, but also for those who aren't so rich. At the moment, there's a lot of instances where people in the UK inherit a house and immediately have to sell it because of the taxation situation. So I think this is a good idea. Building a 500-bed military hospital, something we need. We've only got one very small one at the moment. Bringing in the power to sack your MP. Now, that is absolutely brilliant, because at the moment, if somebody gets themselves elected, they can promise all sorts of things to get themselves elected. Once they're in, there is sweet FA the electorate can do to get rid of them if they fail to deliver on everything. Now, if he manages to do this, then we can do something about ineffective MPs. Ending the transport of live animals for slaughter. This is his animal welfare, and putting CCTV into slaughterhouses to stop abuses, because we know that they happen. And yeah, I'm all for that. Now, as regards to the economy, he wants to ensure that the big corporations pay their fair share of tax. And if we leave the EU, he's going to be able to do that. Currently, he can't. Remove VAT from listed building repairs and also sanitary products. Well, these are things, yeah, these are things, I agree with that, because these are things that you have to pay for. You don't have a choice. If you live in a building in the UK and it's listed like a grade 1 listing, which means it's important architecturally, it might not be a very big building. It could even be a chicken shed. But if it's been listed, then you have to repair it using not just the same materials, but the same methods as when it was built. And good luck to you if it was built in the 14th century, because it's going to cost you a small fortune. So yeah, removing the VAT to relieve that is good. Sanitary products which women buy, obviously tampons and the like. Yep, I totally agree with that. Now, there's been a lot about UKIP being racist, and basically he's saying we're going to go to a points system like Australia does and lots of other countries do, so that immigration for unskilled jobs is going to be ended for a 5-year period. He's going to tackle the problem of sham marriages. At the moment, a lot of people get married and it's a bogus marriage. The only reason they get married is they want to live in the UK. Introduce a new visa system. End access to benefits for new immigrants until they have paid tax and national insurance for 5 years. Good idea. We have a big problem at the moment with immigration in the UK, and it's not all black people, in fact it's mostly Eastern Europeans at the moment. Require all visitors and new immigrants to the UK to have their own health insurance. Also a good idea to reduce the load on the NHS. And he's also looking at funding for the NHS. He's looking at funding 20,000 more nurses, 8,000 more general practitioners and doctors to you, and 3,000 more midwives, and scrapping hospital parking charges. Now this is a big problem at the moment in the UK. Imagine you have to visit someone who's in hospital and they charge you £15 a day to park there. You could be there for a month. Not good. Ending health tourism by making sure that those who are ineligible for free care actually pay for it. Very good idea. Very good idea. And there's a lot more. I could carry on, but all of these policies do actually make an awful lot of sense. And probably the biggest one in housing and transport is building 1 million homes on brownfield sites, that is ex-industrial sites, by 2020, which could easily be done. There are a lot of them about. And using government buildings as well that aren't being used for people to actually live in, converting them. Brilliant. I've got to say that out of all of these guys, Mr Farage and UKIP, I'm afraid he makes the most sense. He deserves to win, but whether he will or not, I have no idea. Well, if you found this helpful, if you found it interesting, then please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much.